The Mandalorian has Baby Yoda, as people have begun to call him, and this game has BD1, and I don't know what to do. There's just too many Star Wars characters I feel like protecting right now. There's too much cuteness. It's overwhelming. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order comes to us from EA and Respawn Entertainment. I have not been a big fan of the past two Star Wars games from EA, Battlefront 1 and 2. The first game had a lot of issues, I thought, and the second game had somewhat of a campaign. In fact, in my review of the game, I didn't even feel comfortable buying it, so I rented it from a nearby family video and reviewed that copy, which is why I'm legitimately shocked at how good this game is. This is one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time. It might actually be my favorite Star Wars game. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic is amazing, but holy shit, this was a really investing game and extremely fun. So this game takes place after Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and we follow a Jedi trainee named Cal Kestis. Order 66 has gone out, the Jedi are all but extinct, and he finds himself roaming the galaxy and being hunted by an Inquisitor known as the Second Sister, with the goal of completing his training and hopefully restoring the Jedi Order. Now, I'm not going to spoil any story points, don't worry if you haven't completed the game or you haven't even started yet, but some of the gameplay that I recorded will have weaponry and upgrades and various abilities that you can learn throughout the game. So if you don't want to know anything, that's your warning. There's going to be stuff you can do with your lightsaber and various powers and things like that you're going to see in the gameplay footage, but I'm not going to ruin any story stuff for you. You ride around the galaxy on a ship called the Mantis, which is captained by Grease, a sarcastic dude who hates droids and is a little unsure about having Cal on his ship, and co-piloted by a former Jedi named Seer. As you go to different planets and encounter many adventures, you come across BD1, a droid who climbs up on your shoulders, helps you scan the environment and learn things about the planet, as well as fallen enemies and creatures, and is possibly my favorite droid ever. I gotta be real, I haven't had that much fun talking about Star Wars lately for the past few years. The newer films have really divided the fandom. Some people love them, some people hate them. I've liked some and disliked others. And it's just not really that fun to talk about Star Wars anymore because it always ends up with varying opinions and people want to talk about what they love or what they hate. And it just feels like the fun isn't there. Do you know what I mean? Even if you like all the new movies or you don't like all the new movies, there's something about the vibe that just isn't the same anymore. This game is the first time in maybe a couple years that I've actually been excited to talk about Star Wars. Having played both of EA's previous attempts at the Star Wars universe, I'm blown away that they weren't just doing this the whole time. This is exactly the kind of game I have wanted out of the Star Wars universe in this current generation of consoles. And we finally got a real fleshed out single-player campaign. Cal is a very compelling character. I cared considerably about him, but honestly, my favorite character in this entire game is Seer, this older and wiser woman that's on the ship the Mantis, who has this really traumatic past. You learn that she was at one point in time a Jedi, and whenever a former Jedi says that, you're like, okay, well, some serious shit must have really fucking happened to you for you not to want to be one anymore. There's always that question of, did they turn? Or did something happen to them that just made them walk away from everything? As you peel back more about her life, she became one of the most fascinating Star Wars characters I've seen in a long time. Just that pure feeling of excitement exploring the galaxy feels adventurous. There's no loading screens as you go from planet to planet. You jump on the ship, you go to the holo table, you pick a planet, and then you see the ship lift off and go into hyperdrive. You talk to the guys for a while, you sit down in your ship, and then you're at the planet. It feels like you're really traveling there. There's a sense of real time to that I've never experienced in a game like this before. The combat is also really fluid, and there are so many incredible things you can do with your lightsaber and with the Force. You start out as someone who's in hiding, obviously, because of Order 66. And in my position, I didn't know anything about the game. I didn't watch trailers. I was not even remotely on board for the game because of EA's past two failures, in my opinion, at the Star Wars universe. So I didn't know anything about the game. So I started playing it simply because people were saying it was really good. And I didn't know who this guy was or what he could do. So as he begins to show his talents and his abilities, this was a surprise to me because I didn't know if he was just going to be a Force-sensitive guy who gets picked up by people and then trained. I had no idea what his story was. So it was really exciting to be able to encounter the Empire, the Stormtroopers, and Inquisitors, and see him learn how to defend himself, and you're like, oh shit, he's a lot more powerful than I thought he was. And the game has a really ingenious way of exploring his backstory, because when you encounter things that you're trying to achieve or beat, you get this flashback to him as a kid being trained by his master, learning new abilities. And then you go back to modern day and you got to do those abilities to get out of whatever the current problem is. And towards like the last hour, hour and a half of this game, the story gets really deep and really dark. Like if something dangerous happened to BD1, I found myself really concerned about his survival. Whew. Now, I played this on PS4, and I did encounter a few errors and some small glitches that eventually worked themselves out. Sometimes you'd get trapped somewhere, like you wouldn't exactly know how you got there or how to get out. Enemies would get stuck just floating in midair. But the game never crashed, and those problems always worked themselves out really quickly. So by no means in any way, shape, or form was this like a game-ending thing. I never had to restart or reset or anything. It was just I encountered these little things throughout the game, and sometimes clothing would load like a frame or two after the shot cuts. As for issues, the combat system takes a little bit of adjusting at first, but I don't really know if that's a problem. I just think that's most games. You sort of get used to what the game wants you to do, and you can die a few times for a while. It's a little challenging. I would recommend playing it on story mode, because that allows you to just experience the campaign and feel like you're involved in this cinematic experience, and it still is relatively challenging. This was a highly satisfying experience for me. I've been waiting for a Star Wars game this good for a while. Ever since LucasArts stopped making games, I just feel like, in general, Star Wars games have been very mediocre and sometimes just flat out bad. It's really refreshing to finally experience a Star Wars story like this in a video game and feel so attached to these characters and actually really care about the mythology presented. And I'm surprised we haven't gotten too many stories set in this time frame, right after Order 66. It's such a tense period in the Star Wars universe, and I'm really glad that this game pulled it off. I'm going to give Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a 9.5 out of 10. I know, surprising. If you watch my past two EA Battlefront reviews, I am just as shocked as you guys are. So please, I mean, if you want a good Star Wars game and you have the ability, go buy it. It's worth your time. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to a ton of reviews this week. Uncut Gems, Marriage Story. I've gotten a stack of screeners sent to me, and I'm really excited to see a lot of the smaller release films that are coming out soon and talk to you guys about them. Thank you guys, as always, for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.